Alright YouTube, what is going on? My name is Bigfoot and thank you for checking out this video. This is episode number 11 of the Orkney Islands here on Transport Fever, and this is going to be a very interesting episode. We're starting off with a highlight reel in the background, which I'll talk about shortly, but just as a reminder, if you're watching this on release, I'm live streaming later today being the 24th of November at 5 PM UK GMT time. If you can join me, that would be wonderful. If not, then don't worry, I will put a highlight reel up on YouTube. That might be part of the next episode or in its standalone video. It just really depends on what we get done tomorrow, but it'd be great if you could join us, and it's very much going to be user feedback driven. Outside of that, if you could follow me on Twitter and Discord, links are down in the description below, then you can keep up to date on what's going on over on the live stream in case you maybe can't keep up and watch the live stream itself. In the background, we're not starting off with our usual flyovers like we have done in many previous episodes. Instead, we are building some infrastructure, and I wanted to continue really where we left off in the last episode around Evie with a lot of the oil and fuel, and I wanted to start moving that over to Brinian and Wyre. These are two very large towns which are very close to Evie, but I've not got any cargo as of yet, and I felt it was a missed opportunity to not really start providing them with cargo, and it was going to make me a lot of money, so I thought I'd get a head start, and we'll cover a lot of that in this episode. Additionally, I added in a few new boat routes, very importantly connecting up Wyre up to Egglesey, and then I also brought the boat back into Surin up to Rapness. Then I played around with a lot of the demands, mainly on buses and also a few trains and a few boats, just to try and get every last inch of profit out of all my routes. Let's continue on with this in the live gameplay. Well, hello there ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's live gameplay. We have currently got a crazy amount of fuel moving around on this map. So you've just seen the time lapse there. Hopefully the time lapse is really interesting. I could have literally put the time lapse into its whole own episode, but I thought, you know, I can skip over a lot of that and we can just get into the juicy stuff. We've added in our operation here, doing very well. We are having some fluctuations definitely on the amount of oil we're producing, and that's then affecting things over at the oil refinery. Evie is doing fantastic generally, 65%. That's actually slightly down. Town itself though is growing at a relatively good rate. It's nearly up to 750 people, and that'll continue to grow, I'm sure. And then with the port here, I've now added in a second boat, which I think is really needed, to call at... I'm a bit torn, to be honest. We've got two boats, and the route currently calls in at Wyre. As we can see here, Wyre West. I want to see how much fuel gets dropped off at this port, and then we've also got going up to Brinian East. Now the thing is that I'm unsure if I want to split these two boats and have one going into Wyre and then one going over to Brinian. I'm not really at all sure what the best approach is right now. I'm interested here about how much gets dropped off, because I don't think it's going to be a lot, to be honest. I think previously it was maybe about 50 out of 250, so about 100 actually got dropped off there. And the good thing is we also set up a truck route in with this town to try and distribute fuel a bit more evenly around the industry. As you can see, the industry in yellow, quite large in the town of Wyre here, just because we're spread out over the islands. So that's what this truck is here to do. It's here to move around the fuel, and by the time the next boat comes around, it'll probably clear out all of that fuel waiting. Stopping at a bus stop there, which I'm not at all sure if that's still a thing. If trucks stop at bus stops, they can actually drop off fuel, and it looks like they actually can. So that's emptied out already, and it's not even made it to the final stop yet, which is actually kind of interesting. Do I even need this? I mean, probably not, to be honest, but we'll leave it in for the time being. But things should be picking up in Wyre. Currently, percentage-wise, we're covering 9%, so long way to go, but we're now starting to move more fuel, slowly but surely. We just need to sort out all the demands levels, but this should be just such a big money maker going forwards. Then over in Brinian itself, I'm not really doing too much, to be honest. I've not got a built-up area of industry like we do over in Wyre. We've sort of got a corridor along the coast here, hence why I mean, I was about to say hence why the port is on the coast, but that's a given, Callum, well done. But I don't really need to expand out too much. The reason I built this other port here is because we do have some industry over here, but there's very limited buildings right now. So eventually we will call it that, but not for now. And then along here, I feel this area is really being served by this cargo port, fine as it is. So I'm going to leave that for the time being. We now really just have some other options about where we want to expand. We want to try and introduce Surin into the mix, maybe Egglesey. Not really at all sure at this present moment in time, to be honest, but I think things are definitely on the up. It's crazy to just see how much, like, these are full. I mean, I might be tempted to actually build a railway line, to be honest, just to get fuel moving. Though I think we'll see how things go. I'm not going to rush into anything. I just need to try and get all the demand right. It's great to see as well this boat coming in, it's already going to fill up, which is perfect. Lorry wise, I think we're actually just going to leave the rate we've got lorries moving at. Any boat that turns up here is filling up perfectly. I think this boat will actually maybe just be a tiny bit short, to be honest, but only by 4. And then the next boat is, yeah, it's literally just docking in now, currently at Brinian. So long term we'll split those up, but we'll come back to this later on. A few other changes we made. We went and added in a Class 101 2 cars on the western route. That has gone from using a red arrow, about maybe 150k maximum it was making. That has gone and jumped up nicely, pretty much gaining an extra 100,000, which is phenomenal. Then we've done quite a bit with boats actually, and I did hint at that at the end of the last episode. We've added in a new port over at Wyre. This is now connecting over to Egglesey, which is a much busier port now. I think we've only got one boat there, which we need to sort of try and improve upon. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make a change. I was only just putting on one hovercraft. I just wanted to see the gauge of popularity. Popularity, safe to say, it's doing quite well. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this up for the boat project. Boat project goes much slower, or no. I'm so torn. I'm always so torn when I come to this decision. And I think the boat project would be the best thing, so we're going to go for that and leave it for the time being. We can come back to it and see how it is, but I've created a demand, so that's the big thing. The next interesting thing we did do was we also brought the port at Surin back into action, which this port hasn't been in action for a very long time indeed. And that now is connected all the way up to Rapness. Hinted at this a little bit before. There's a lot of demands definitely built up there, and we've only got one current hovercraft on the route there. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in 2 more. Generally that is quite a long distance to travel. I'm thinking Rapness to Surin, it's taking 8 minutes right now. It's extremely profitable though because of that distance, and that's why I want to add in 2 more of these and try and make this a bit more of a success. We'll very quickly leave here and we'll run back down. Actually, we can double check how things are going here. Things are quite busy at Braeswick Whitehall. Again, I feel it's a lot of one-way demand. Braeswick town itself is actually doing really well. It's nearly up to 1,000 people. And then Kettletoft, I really need to come back to here actually. How are we doing on the bus front? I feel this bus route, or this route, could do with a train actually. And to go and try and safeguard myself for the future, definitely a small opportunity here to get a train station in. Even though it's not going to be too central, it's going to be bang in between the 2 ports, which I think is a good idea. If we go and grab, nice to see we've actually got some more modern stations coming about. 160 high speed street connections, yes. If we go for something like that there, yeah, let's go for that there. That's perfect. And then where are we going to do the same in Kettletoft? Quite difficult to say, to be honest. Definitely got some opportunity up the top of the town here though. Kettletoft has expanded down the peninsula as I expected. I don't really know where else it is going to grow, to be honest. If we have the station, I don't know, along the top here and have something like that, that works out nicely. That should be quite an easy train to implement, and we might even do that this episode. But I do want to try and touch on some of the mainland. Not too much has changed in Grobster and Whitehall. Some optimization can definitely be done with regard to trucks. We're still using older trucks, but they're doing the job right now, and that would sort of be a bit of an unnecessary spend, and I don't think it would really get me too much more profit. As the feature comment last episode, it was a comment from Alex talking about austerity. That's still really at the back of my mind, and I don't have to upgrade to the new trucks. It's not actually going to be that much of an advantage, so in this case it's probably not worth it. Coming down to here, the chaos. Now episode 10 currently hasn't been released yet, so I don't know what people's thoughts are on the railway line. I can imagine that people want me to introduce the train. I would too, but we're definitely gating a lot more money. If we look, for example, and actually start playing this game again, if we first of all look at 1994, let's say, overall running costs 11.4 million. Running costs is really jumping up quite rapid right now, but then so's the income. Income went up between 1993 and 1994, it went up 1.8 million. Running costs only went up 0.6 million. So I'm liking that a lot. We've got now a gap of over 7 million, which is perfect. So we are really raking in the cash, but it does now cost us a lot to buy any vehicle. The cheapest truck, or the trucks that I want to use, the buses that I want to use, 400k a pop. Trains, Class 101, still doing a not bad job, to be honest, and I think they're going to continue to serve me quite well into the future. But I think it's time for maybe one or two more upgrades, especially on the railway. So first of all, Buddy and Hope here, you're doing well as it is, 300k, but I think you could do with an upgrade. I think this one's been coming, to be honest. There's a lot of demand at both stations, and it can definitely justify the next train upgrade. Interestingly, I've actually already got it on, but I've just not replaced now. That's costing me quite a bit of money, but definitely worth the upgrade, and I do think that we could be pushing the next upgrade, a 4-car DMU Class 101 at some stage in the near future, because there's still a lot of demand here, but we'll just wait and see how this 3-car soaks up the pressure. Two additional things I want to do as well, considering this episode. That's always just been at the back of my mind, that oil well, because that oil well can actually do two useful things. That oil well can link down to here. Not that I really want to contest what I'm going to have on the railway, but it's in my head. And then we've also here got that could also go over to Line S, and that would be perfect to serve Long Hope and Line S. I just don't think the two towns are big enough yet. I mean, very small populations, even though they've been connected up for a while. Rackwick's growing, perfect to see. Bus demand much higher as well. We've only actually got 3 buses on that route, which is incredibly low. So why don't we go and double the fleet there? These are justified costs, and I think that that will try and, or that should definitely help the growth of the town out. Rackwick now up to a nice 279. Still really isn't that high, to be honest, but it'll do the job just fine. Okay, so I've mentioned a few other things I want to mention. I'm just going all over the place right now, but I've got so much going on in my head. This oil well here and this oil refinery here, St Mary's, is probably one of the next connections we're going to make, and then some more boats. I think that's honestly where things are at right now. So much expansion again, and I realise it's quite a lot, but we're making so much gains in the financial department right now, so I think we should just continue on with it where we can. Right, so we're going to have trucks come along from the oil refinery, then we have down to there. Then from there, what I'm going to want to have right now is, let me check in the town where pretty nicely grouped together, the industry and St Mary's. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a road which is going to come round. We just want to sort of cut along the top here, join the 4-laner, and then if we can actually pre-build for the future a bit here, if we sort of build a bypass around this town, which I've done in quite a few places. If we build something round to, say, there, like so, then let's connect this up at the top. there into there. Of course that didn't work. Run that into there like so. Now all we need to do is try find an appropriate spot for a depot, which is probably going to be easier said than done, just because any demolition I do, it's going to cost me a fortune. So much so that I don't even have the money. Right, that's not catastrophic, so let's go for that there. Let's try and get myself a... Oh, there we go. Perfect in there, so that's going to cover near enough all of that industry, which is perfect. And then we are pretty much good to go with that. So if we quickly throw in another truck depot round about here, and then we do similar along over here, we can probably do it at this T-junction actually. Might want to increase the width of this road, especially as we're going to have trucks in it shortly. And let me very quickly just go and create these routes. So that's me got those two routes named. Let's go ahead and just throw about 3 vehicles on the crude oil element of things. Chosen some of the worst colours for these routes. A vague brown and then a vague grey, which my light colour blindness really isn't benefiting from at all. What I'll do when I get a little bit more money in a few weeks time is that we've got 3 trucks. I'm only just going to start this one off small and just see how things go. St Mary's itself, it's in the middle population wise, coming up on 700 people. I think with 3 trucks on each that should really meet the demand for now. Maybe we'll only do actually 2 between the oil refinery and the depot in St Mary's, just because that's shorter compared to the longer distance that the crude oil needs to travel. So that gives me 2 trucks there. We set those up, which I believe that is now right. Fuel into St Mary's, and then we'll come back and check on that at a later stage. Coming back up to here though, things are flaming busy, and not surprised to be honest. Maximum production there. Upgrade could be going up to 6,400, which would be astronomical. That then gives me the impression that we need to do some more work over here and really just check how the boat's doing, because I don't know financially how the boat's doing. It's doing quite well. I think we can make it better by splitting it up though. That's a big thing I want to do. And we're going to do that now by taking the route first of all. And what we're going to do is, I think we're actually going to split it. And we're going to have... So if we remove 2 from there, then that... Or actually, let me remove 2 from there. Then we're going to go from Evie lower, we're then going to stop at Wyre, and then we're going to stop at Brinian west essentially. Hopping over the water there. If anything, we should actually do those the other way around, just so we've got a bit easier access to the ports. Just angles. I mean, it's not perfect that way either actually, is it? It is quite a bit of weaving, but it'll do the job, and then that'll return, so that's Wyre essentially. And that will take not too much time, probably about the same amount of time it'll take the boat to get all the way over to Brinian East. And then what we're going to do is we're going to transfer this boat over to the purple, which is Brinian, and we'll see how these do separately, because I'm interested to see how they do. This does mean that the demand hopefully should be a bit more even. Oh, don't tell me you're going to go all the way over there first. You are. That's a real missed opportunity, unfortunately, but we do have to live with it. We can also see this crashing now as well, just because we're not moving enough stuff. What I will do is I will add... I mean, let's have a quick look. See how we're doing here. So, overall, truck-wise, bus-wise, I mean the bus and EVGs. I really need to have a look at quite a few bus routes in remote places right now. But yeah, crude oil, phenomenal, and we can make it better. We might as well make it better by adding in another truck. And then with that said, I think we're going to leave it there and just wait and allow a little bit of time to pass before we continue on with anything else. So a good amount of time has passed, and I've added on an extra truck on to the fuel route in with Wyre, which I think is needed. I think that now we're pretty much getting full consistent boats coming over. I realise that boat is returning, but I think things are a bit stabilising now, and we're starting to really have the boats leave here full near enough consistently. Time this boat gets in, that'll be at just about 250, and then it will switch around. Right now that boat's gone out full, so things are looking good. Profit-wise on them, they are not quite there yet, which I'm kind of a bit disappointed in. Now, the reason I think the pink route is not doing well is because it's going to two separate places. That is definitely a concern and something that we can maybe try split up in the future, but I will have to just give it a little bit more time because it's quite recent, and this route has definitely also fluctuated just based on me making changes elsewhere. I have added in though a new cargo route which will go from Brinian West here, basically stopping at this bus stop here, Chester Road, and this additional bus stop at New Road, just trying to serve a little bit more of this industry, which should be really good. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put the one truck out onto this right now, and then if we can do that and see how and if that makes a difference. Next thing I want to do, I'm going to take the plunge, ladies and gentlemen. So right now, if we go into here, multi-units, we can see we've got, I really need a bit more money. We need to get to 3.86 million. I don't actually necessarily need that. What we're going to do is currently we've got one of these bad boys on this route. We've got a 4-car DMU Class 101 running at 83 capacity. What we're going to do is we're going to switch that around and go for two 3-car DMUs, meaning that we can get an extra about 40 passengers on the move at the one time. The reason mainly for this is because I've got 105 people waiting down there, I've got 58 people waiting up here, but the train I believe has just left there and is now ploughing. Oh, it's actually just leaving here. So yeah, I mean, everything's just all over the place. And the big thing is that we do have this route already signalled up. This originally actually had 2 red arrows on it, will you believe it or not. So this is perfect to go and get this up and going. If we very quickly go and make the change here and go for replace now, that's going to downgrade when it returns again shortly, and then we'll get our new train out. Currently at 405k, I think we can now push this up to about 600k, and again just consistently be profitable. Then we're going to turn to the final thing which I want to do this episode. So that train has now downgraded. I've now just released the other train from the depot, so we'll have to look at this at a later stage and see how this does, but I'm thinking now we're definitely surely going to be going in the right direction. 176 people waiting here, just a phenomenal number. The final thing I want to do this episode is spend a tiny bit more money, and that is going to be connecting up some towns which really should be connected a bit better. In the next episode, I think we're maybe going to try and connect up Wyre over with Grobster and Whitehall, if that is possible. It might be worth actually connecting up Egglesey, I'm not really at all sure, but we need a direct connection between this island and the cluster we've got over here, because right now you need to go up to Whitehall, over to Braeswick, through Braeswick to Eddy, through Eddy, and then out the other side of Eddy to just get into Egglesey, and it is quite a faff, I can imagine, if you're a commuter. I mean, no one would commute that, but if you have to travel that, not practical. The other one I want to do, which we're going to do now, is connect up these two southern islands, South Ronaldsay here with St Margaret's Hope and Cleet, and then somehow connecting to either Lioness or Long Hope. What I think we're going to do, I think we're going to go and connect up Lioness here, just because it's already got 2 established bus routes in the town as it is, so I do think the boat can be a bit more successful. The other thing that it's got going for it is it surely must be the biggest town on the island. That's 453, yeah, 385, and Rackwick doesn't have anything on this at all. Interesting actually, how's the bus doing in Rackwick? Because we added 3 more buses in, and it is doing quite well financially. I want to see the new Volvo. It's got a capacity of 18, but it goes 62 miles an hour, that's really nice. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add in 2 more MAN SLs for now, because they do the job okay. They are going at 50 miles per hour anyway when they're up to speed on the main road, so I can't really, I mean, there's not much justification. The Volvo, the extra 12 miles per hour, but it's going to cost me a lot to upgrade the fleet, which I don't think there is much need. Anyway, so from Lyoness, where are we going to get into St Margaret's Hope? Because we have a choice. We could actually connect in at different sides. Realistically though, I'm thinking actually up here at the top. Or should we connect into Bury? That is the question, because if we're near the railway station, then that's surely just gonna click, click, click. I think we're gonna go for Bury, and I think if we've got the navigatable waters, which we seem to have on our side, can we wedge this in? Be surprised if we could, to be honest. Yeah, I'm either gonna... Oh, no. I think that is very, very lucky. But we somehow managed to get this in, which is nice, extremely nice. And that means then that we are a stone throw away from the train station, which is just going to be perfect for long-term connections. So let's draw that up there. I hope the AI will bridge a bit more. I also need to upgrade this to high speed because it's bugging me quite a bit. Nice to see that the 3-car train is relatively full there. Demands wise, it's going to increase now anyway. I think profitability wise, it's doing 300k, so it's not got any worse, it's not got any better though. And overall, trains haven't really grown too much. I mean, they're consistent, that's the great thing, they are consistent. And I just can't complain at all there. Right, so with this built now, we've got, it's quite a journey to get over to Lyoness, to be honest. We've got this island in the way, which doesn't help. And I do think this is going to be quite a long journey, in all fairness. What I'm going to do is make sure I add this in with boats. We've done a lot of boat expansion today, but I just wanted a lot more island connections made up. And a lot more direct island connections, especially in places where we've got the demand. Now, there's not necessarily going to be a lot of demand here, but these islands are quite isolated right now, so I feel we need to do a bit more to help them out and make sure they don't fall behind too much. So the final thing I need to do is get some passenger boats onto here. Realistically, I'm just going to put 3 hovercraft on and send them to work, just due to the distance, and also I don't think there's going to be too much demand for the amount of people. It's quite interesting actually how it navigates the water here. It comes through this small gap here, which is fortunately wide enough. It's considerably wide enough. And then it comes back round the bottom of the island. Not really at all sure why it hugs the island so closely though. You can't see the green on green too well there, but it doesn't cut across straight here. I suppose maybe the boats are sort of following that line. But what we're going to do is we're just going to stop one, just to make sure all the boats spread out, because if not, then they're going to be clustered together. Okay, let's wrap things up. How are we doing over here? Things are doing good over here. Finance-wise, they are... If we filter by road vehicle, got profit, which is good. We can definitely work on that in the next episode. Quite happy about that indeed. Coming over to here, how's things doing in Evie? Because Evie is very, very busy indeed. Crude oil doing great. The port route doing great, and then into Evie itself. I know Evie needs work in general, especially with the bus, as I've mentioned, so we'll sort that out. To narrow things down here, it's quite messy, isn't it? Boat-wise, round about here, we've got our 2 goods boats in the profit. The Wyre one, which also calls it Brinian, isn't doing as successful. That makes sense. But over to Brinian, that one is consistently looking like doing good, which I'm happy about that. People boats could probably do with a bit more work, generally. And it looks like the boat, I think it's just called Project Boat, at 93 people, it's generally not pulling in a lot of money on some routes, so we might have to look at changing boats. But we'll have a look at that in the next episodes. How are we doing over here with the Eddy boat? So yeah, it's not doing too bad actually. That's a new route and it's doing okay. How are we doing between Surin? Because Surin, this is a new route. It's doing phenomenally. Wowie, 700s, basically 800k there. Really happy about that indeed. And I'm glad we've got Surin reconnected. And I think that's really helped with the train. And it makes sense why we've got 2 trains now on that route. And they should both be filling up near enough, based on the demand that I've seen previously. It's already up to just about 500k now, which I'm happy about, and Rapness is definitely a lot busier. I think with that said, that is pretty much all the work that I've worked on in this episode. It's been quite a chaotic one, to be honest, but really glad we've made the progress that we have. Done a lot of interjoining, and we're going to continue on with that as we gain a lot more money now in the next episodes. Running costs, they are now for 1996. Let's take a look. We're at 13.2 million, but we made 21 million. So that is basically a profit of just about 8 million for the year. Hopefully we can push that to 10 million in the next episodes. Now, I doubt we're going to pay back much of the Port Barrels loan, but we can definitely do some large expansion work, and by that I mean bring in some trains. And that brings us to the end of the episode. I hope you did enjoy it. This was a little bit different to some of the previous episodes. We went ahead and really focused on a lot of building, and we did it at quite some scale while also trying to focus on some really profitable routes, and I'm glad we've done that. I'm also glad we have added just extra connections between towns which probably should have existed already. For example, from Surin up to the top of the map, and then between Eggleside and Wyre, because a lot of these towns are very big, and with only the few connections they have, it meant there was real bottlenecks which we've managed to go ahead and break down. Let's have a quick look at the maps before we wrap up then. As we can see, the map of the north of the Orkney Islands here, there's a lot that has changed. I did mention in the episode I wanted to try and connect up over at the right where Grobster and Whitehall is, directly pretty much into Brinian, Surin and Wyre area. Not managed that, but that's something which I'll probably do in the live stream. Then we have done a lot around Evie, Wyre and Brinian. We can see the waterways now, they are really busy, and that really is true if you actually look at the game and slow it down. There's many boats on many of those different routes, so it's making for quite an interesting area. Then in the bottom of the map, not too much has changed, to be honest. What we have done is we have connected up Lioness with Bury now, which will be really exciting to see what that does with effect to the train, hoping that will really do wonders. And I'm thinking in the live stream we'll probably extend down to Cleet as well, and then we've also added in our new fuel up at St Mary's as well, which we'll continue to expand on in the next episode. Once again, just a reminder for the live stream that is on the 24th of November at 5 PM UK GMT time. That really does bring us though to the end of this episode, so if you can please leave a like rating, that would be wonderful. Check out my Twitter, my Patreon and my Discord, the links are down in the description below. Once again, a massive thanks to Nicole H on Patreon, and that's all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching, and my name is Bigfoot, and I'm out.